Alright, okay, let's get it started. You guys are listening to Unprofessional with Daniel Sala. I am your host, Daniel Sala, and right now, rebooting the show. Gonna have an intro here soon. I don't have one put together yet, but our minions here at Unprofessional with Daniel Sala are putting their brain trust together and working on that right now as we speak. It's great to be back, guys. I have been just I don't want to say recharging my batteries, but I kind of just I lost a little bit of my pep in my step there for a minute, kind of lost my passion for what I was wanting to do. But I'm in a good headspace, man. There for a bit, I had ulcerative colitis, and that was hitting me pretty hard. And I was not in the best shape. Bouncing back, though, I'm in good health. I'm doing good. And I wanted to just record this for you guys and have a multitude of things I want to talk about. But I just want to say how thankful I am for you guys for just sticking by me, and just the people who do keep coming back every time, I just appreciate you guys. I appreciate everyone who takes time out of their day to listen to one of my shows, because when I put these shows together, it's a labor of love. I really enjoy what I do when I'm doing this. I really feel comfortable with myself talking on the radio. I'm not a very sociable person. Never have been. But I've always been comfortable and I don't want to say I've always been comfortable. I've always enjoyed the experience of just finding my voice, talking to you guys, and you, the listener, everyone who listens to this show. And just long story short, wanted to thank you guys for sticking with me. And with that, let's get this show on the road. I recently got my second tattoo. I have 2 tattoos now. First one, the Jolly Roger from One Piece for the Straw Hats. I have always been a big One Piece fan, man, since I got into One Piece around 2020, the year 2020. I was living in Moline, and I was living in this apartment, and I was looking for a show to just binge. And I've been into anime for since childhood. Got started on Dragon Ball Z and Toonami, all that good stuff. And One Piece was always one of those shows I had never watched before, and because it was over 1,000 episodes almost at that point. So I finally decided, I have time at this apartment I was staying in over that summer, and I put it on. And by the time the first arc of that show ended, I was just hooked. And I've always loved One Piece ever since. So I have the Jolly Roger of the Straw Hats on my right calf, and I got over the weekend a green mushroom on my the top of my left knee, and wouldn't have been my first choice, but the family was wanting matching tattoos. My mom got this design from this lady, and she's like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "Well, if that's what you want to do, I'm up for it." So, my brother got one, a blue one, I have a green one, and my mom got a purple one. My dad said he's gonna get a red one, but I'll believe that when I see it. But yeah, it was a good time. Been wanting to do those matching tattoos for a while, so glad I got that done. Yeah, family's a big part of everything I am, man. I've loved my family, So that was a good time. Also, what I've been listening to lately, Motorhead, dude. I've always loved, like, classic metal, and I've always been into old punk and stuff. Motorhead, I got Motorizer, their 2008 album, when it came out, and I loved it, right? Those songs are amazing. I've always loved that album, but they're just a band that I never got any more of their CDs. Well, here recently, I've just been going through a phase of just like, classic metal, and I was like, oh, Motorhead, they're a band that I've heard a little bit of. I know the hits and the Motorizer album, but up until that point, I had never really listened to them much. So I got the YouTube Music app, and for those of you who have never tried it, and it's what it is. You gotta pay for it, but I love it, man. It's got a whole bunch of stuff. But I got into Motorhead here recently, and man, I gotta tell you, my favorite Motorhead album might be March or Die, which is weird because they were still a 4-piece then. They had Tommy Aldridge on drums, which he was the drummer for Bark at the Moon, the Ozzy album, right? So, but it's a great album. Standouts for me on that album, for sure. Too Good to Be True, a fantastically, beautifully written album. A beautifully written song, too. I think people, the legend of Lemmy is just, people don't talk about his lyric writing. I think he's a beautiful way he writes lyrics is just amazing. I've always been a fan of his lyrics, and I think people don't talk about it as much. Another, Hellraiser, which was an Ozzy song that he wrote, and he did his version on this album. Fantastic. I Ain't No Nice Guy was the softer ballad of the album with Ozzy on that track. Standout tracks for me too. Also, Jack the Ripper, and they did a version of Cat Scratch Fever. I just love that album, man. But like I said, I went through their whole catalog pretty much from Motorhead to the last album, Bad Magic, and it just they're one of those bands like AC/DC who they know and knew what their band was. They knew what their fan base liked, and they just continually kept putting out good, solid rock metal albums. They went through such a evolution of musically too, if you think about it, because they started out as a 3-piece, and they morphed into a 4-piece, which they still sounded good. Like I said, they were a 4-piece on March or Die, and their later years they became a 3-piece, and they just got super heavy, and they were always heavy, but man, the way they mixed it, I'm pretty sure they held the Guinness World Record there for the loudest live band, because I watched the Lemmy documentary and he was talking about that. That's another one you guys need to watch if you haven't, is Lemmy. The documentary that came out, I think it came out in 2010, but just a fantastic movie about his life. But yes, dude, you guys gotta check out Motorhead. Fantastic. I picked up Ace of Spades the other day, and such a good road trip album. If you just got like a quick half-hour trip to make, it's great. And the standouts on that album for me, for sure, have to be We Are the Road Crew. I mean, it's fantastic. It's just a great straight rock album. And yeah, check out Motorhead if you haven't, guys. They are just straight fantastic. The Celtics, man, we are a great team. I love our guys. I love all our guys. And I feel like if we stay consistent in the way we play and how we should be playing, there's no more well-rounded, more just solid team. In my eyes, but we just have to stay consistent. Jaylen Brown scored 41 the other day, which was crazy. And people, I've heard rumors for a while, trade Jaylen. Jaylen and Jason can't play together, which I think is total nonsense. I think those guys are great. I think they love playing with each other. I think they love the team. I think they love the culture. I think they're committed to winning the Celtics the championship. And the core guys we have just need to stay consistently on a game-to-game basis. They've said in their own interviews, they've lost to teams that maybe they weren't supposed to lose to. And that just goes back to just staying consistent on your game plan, on what you know you should be doing. Joe Mazzulla said in an interview, and his team, his players have said that the way he looks at a game, Joe Mazzulla, and the way he preaches and tells the way he tells his team is, you just got to keep building that sandcastle. And if you think about it, that makes perfect sense, because if you just keep building that sandcastle and just keep consistently just adding to it and just building on what you are trying to do, I believe if they can stay consistent, we have a good chance to make a deep run into the playoffs, if not win the whole thing. And I'm saying that solely as a Celtics fan. Because the league is so good right now, man. Anything can happen. It's an exciting time. And I was able to see Chris Jericho, man. I'm a huge pro wrestling fan. And I was able to see Chris Jericho's band Fozzy in Bloomington the other day. And it was... I wasn't sure on what I was going to think. I love Chris Jericho, man. And, I've heard Fozzy. I know they put out good music. But I didn't know, some bands live, you never know. But we went. The first band was solid, pretty good. The second band was alright. And then Fozzy hits. Jericho comes out, and he's belting it, man. He's just reaching. He's reaching for it, and I love it. There was even a sign in the front row. Well, it wasn't even a front row. It was a standing room only, pretty much. There was a balcony, but someone had a white sign with written in black marker that just said Y2J, which was one of his wrestling gimmicks, I guess, right? And I was like, that's fantastic. And Chris Jericho was just loving it. After every song, he just points out to the crowd, and the crowd just goes, Fozzy, Fozzy, Fozzy. Oh man, yeah, his band's name is Fozzy, and it's fantastic. I had a good time. It was a fantastic show. I liked it a lot. Jericho, man, he's out there doing it. I've always been a fan of his. The way he's just morphed into this wrestler, singer. He writes books, he does podcasts, he has his own cruise. The dude is just living the dream, right? And it's just, you gotta be happy for him, right? He's just one of those guys that if you're a kid and you grow up and you love heavy metal and wrestling, you're like, oh, I would love to be a wrestler and be a singer or a musician. But a lot of those kids, that doesn't happen for everybody. He made it happen, man. And I swear Jericho doesn't sponsor this show, but it's man, he really did it, which is fantastic. AEW, the show he works for, the company, All Elite Wrestling, they are doing some good shows. MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, I mean, he is one of my favorite modern wrestlers right now, honestly. He cuts great promos. He stays in character in almost everything he does. And every time he gets in the ring, he doesn't wrestle all the time, but when he does, the match makes sense, and it just flows, and he makes it work. I think he is one of the most well-rounded, solid performers going today. And modern wrestling, I think, because I've been watching since 2004 or 5, so I've seen a few different eras, I guess. And the modern wrestling, I think, and this isn't even I'm not hating on modern wrestling. I love all wrestling. This is just the way I look at it as a fan. I'm not bashing anybody. My whole opinion on it is I think modern wrestling is more just let's go out there and have a good match and entertain these fans, and that's a great way to look at it. I've always been accustomed to just more of a story, which is, that's how it was done when I was coming up. Like I said, around 2004 or 5. So, but, AEW is a good show because it has a good mix of everything that a wrestling fan would and does enjoy. They have the comedy, they have the high flyers, they have a good tag team division. The women's division is getting there, it's getting better. Jamie Hayter is great. I'm just going to say that. Jamie Hayter is great. And MJF is great. They just have people, and it's a young roster, and they have a good mix of veterans. I've seen AEW a few times live, and every show I've been to, they don't disappoint, man. And they tape a lot live there, because the last time me and my brother went, they taped the Dynamite, they taped Rampage, and Dark. So those fans, man, when you see them on TV, especially Rampage, they had already went through a Dynamite. So, I think I like how AEW gives wrestlers a chance to get better, I should say, because when I say that is because when they do All Elite Wrestling Dark and Dark Elevation, people are like, oh, they just get thrown on YouTube. But the way I look at it is it's still good for these young up-and-coming guys to just get their reps in, right? And it's cool that they're starting to do house shows. I think that's another good thing that is... for me, house shows have always been a very important part of wrestling. And it's cool that AEW starting to get back into that. But yeah, it's just, these guys just need reps, and I think it's a good company. I think it's good that there are other companies other than WWE, and I've always been a big WWE fan. I'm excited for Wrestlemania this year. I think that Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns is going to be a good match. I think Cody's going to win the belt. And they say, and it's rumor, innuendo, so who knows, that Roman may take a break. But if he does, the guy's had a legendary run right now. He's on his legend run. He's almost 1,000 days as world champion, which, if you think about it, is insane. But I've always loved him. He's finally found his thing that works for him. He's found the tribal chief and his family, the bloodline. I've loved this whole storyline, this thing with Sammy. I think it's just been fantastic. I think it's going to be a great payoff. I think that Sammy and Kevin are going to have a great match against the Usos. I'm excited for Dominic Mysterio versus Rey Mysterio. I think that's going to be a classic. And I love Dominic Mysterio, man. I've always loved Rey Mysterio. And I've seen Dominic, ever since he's come in. As when Rey held Dominic after he won the Cruiserweight title. So, like, it's just, I've seen this kid grow up, and the fact that he gets to wrestle his dad at WrestleMania is fantastic, I think. And I'm just excited for this year. I think I've never liked the idea of having a 2-night WrestleMania, but I get why they do it. I think it's going to be a good show. Nonetheless, I think that Finn Balor and Edge are going to have a great match. In Hell in a Cell. The Demon versus the Devil, right? Finn Balor's going to paint his face up as the Demon. And Edge is going to have a throwback to his Brood days as the Devil, apparently. And there's rumors that they might fly in Gangrel for WrestleMania. So, is he going to make an appearance to help Edge? Is he going to... What's going to happen, you know? So, this WrestleMania, I'm excited. Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul. I've always been a big Seth Rollins fan. I trained, actually, well, I don't want to say I trained. Well, okay, first of all, I went to train at his gym, his place, and I'll tell you what, it kicked my ass. And I went for just that day, and it kicked my ass, and so always been a big fan of his. And this thing with Logan Paul, I don't know. Logan Paul is he's taking to wrestling like a fish to water, which I think it's going to be a great match. I think it's going to be a barn burner. And you can say what you want about Logan Paul, but he's talented, he's athletic, and he gets it. And I don't want to say I know everything about wrestling, because I don't. But I think they're going to have a great match. Seth Rollins always delivers in the ring. But yeah, that when I trained at his gym at Kick My Ass, we did a mile. Like, we ran outside and came back. And he's like, alright, one more mile. And we're like, oh man. And then, like, I'm running. Like, I did some... The summer before, I did some, like, treadmill work, and I did some running outside, but, like, I was nowhere near prepared for this. Man, we were doing running, and, like, by the time we got back doing that, they said, okay, box jumps. And I'm like, oh my god, dude, I didn't prepare for box jumps. Like, I just didn't think about it. I wasn't very smart. I'm still not very smart, but like box jumps, and I'm like, okay, I try to do one and just rack my shin off the box. I'm like, ow, right? Like, I didn't get hurt, but I was like internally like, ow. And they were cool about it though. They said if you can't finish, it's cool. And so yeah, great people. I met Seth and Becky Lynch was there. Everyone there was fantastic. The Black and Brave Wrestling Academy, fantastic people, and they were very respectful and just very cool with me. So I think Seth and Logan Paul are gonna have a good match, man. I think WrestleMania is gonna be a solid show, and I'm excited about it. I think WWE and AEW are both in their own lane right now, and I think it's cool because if you like that WWE style, you can watch them, and they're putting out a good product right now, I believe. And if you like more of the AEW, you're not into WWE maybe, you know, you want more of an alternative, go to AEW, watch it, man. I've always been a big proponent of just any wrestling, man. I watch a little bit of everything. I watch WWE, I watch AEW, I watch a little bit of New Japan. Haven't watched much Impact lately, but what I'm saying is, if you're a wrestling fan, just watch wrestling. It's not for everybody. I feel like wrestling is like a theater, athletic theater. You know, and the way I've always explained it to people is, you're watching a show, you're watching a movie, right? You see a guy, like, let's say, like, just you see a guy with a gun, he shoots another guy. You know, in that movie, he didn't really do that. But it's just you suspend belief if you're into a movie. The same thing with wrestling. We know what the gig is, but we get so just suspended in disbelief with what we're watching, and we get so invested into the stories. And wrestling fans, I believe, are very, like, if they see a good wrestler and they see a wrestler that they really like, they'll work with them, man, to help them get more popular, you know. So, like, if you're a wrestling fan, just watch what you want and just keep wrestling alive, dude. I've always loved wrestling. It's always been a big part of my life. But I've also been doing a lot of reading lately. I've been reading some fantasy. This Wheel of Time series my friend Ryan got me into. And as far as I know, 14 books. And I put it off for a long time, but I finally picked it up, and I just finished the 4th book. And I love it. I love the whole story. These guys ran. Yeah, man. The wheel weaves as the wheel wills. It's a great series. They have a show on Amazon. I've watched the first episode. They've made a few changes. I'm not gonna hate on the series, the TV series, because I haven't watched all of it. But I really like the books. I think they're good high fantasy. This whole idea of these 3 farm people, farm sheep herders, really, who get caught up in this whole weaving of time and the wheel of time, and how they're like the reincarnations of past beings who did things, and it's all predetermined. But is it? It's a good series. I'm saying that I'm being all like mysterious and stuff, but like that's just it. I don't know enough about it yet. I'm just really enjoying it. It's well written. Books are long, man. I've had to have buffer books, which got me into the Dark Tower series, the Stephen King. It's like a Western meets high fantasy meets horror, and it's great. It's his version of like Lord of the Rings, and I'm reading the 4th book of that, Wizard and Glass. It's sitting right in front of me right now. I'm about halfway through it. I'm enjoying that series a lot. The main character, Roland, the gunslinger. It's just, I think Stephen King, he's one of my favorite authors. He's always had a way with words as far as how he conveys dialogue. And I've always been a fan since reading Salem's Lot. He's just always, I thought, put out good material. And Robert Jordan with Wheel of Time. I know, like I said, I came on Wheel of Time late, but because I know he passed away and Brandon Sanderson finished the books. But both are solid series. I recommend them. The Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. It's high fantasy. There's magic. There's dragons. There's Trollocs, man. These Trollocs are crazy. They're like their version of orcs from Lord of the Rings, but they have these goat faces, and like it's strange, man. It's such a trip, but it's cool. And it's a fantastic series. If you're into like stuff like Game of Thrones or like Lord of the Rings, definitely check it out, dude. Wheel of Time, Robert Jordan. Then like I said, the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. It's awesome. Roland is on the move the gunslinger Roland is on the move and on the search for the Dark Tower. I don't know anything about the Dark Tower. I don't know what it is, like what the whole deal is with it yet. I'm only on the 4th book, but it's great. This series is awesome. It's well paced. It's very inventive. It has a bunch of just takes weird turns, but it's awesome. And those are the 2 series that I'm reading right now: Dark Tower, Stephen King. Wheel of Time, Robert Jordan. And with that, guys, I appreciate you, man. I thank you. It's awesome to be back. Can't talk, to be back. And I hope you guys continue on this journey with me, man. I am so thankful for you guys to just be here, to be listening, and to continue to put out material for you guys. I am Daniel Sal. Thank you for listening to Unprofessional with Daniel Sal. Like I said, there will be music, there will be an intro and outro, all that good stuff. In the meantime, I will talk to you guys later. You have a good one. Be good to each other. See you later.